With a world full of fascinating destinations, choosing the perfect vacation spot can present a challenge. That's why 22 News Top List used expert opinions, reader votes and current trends, and evaluated sites, cultures, scenic beauty, food options and more, to compile this list of the world's best places to visit. 10. Canada. Canada takes up about 2/5 of the North American continent, making it the second largest country in the world after Russia. The country is sparsely populated, with most of its residents living within 125 miles of its border with the United States. Canada's expansive wilderness to the north plays a large role in Canadian identity, as does the country's reputation of welcoming immigrants. Although the Norse briefly settled in Canada during the 10th century, European exploration accelerated in the 1500s. France and Britain angled for control over the region, with the British cementing their dominance in the year 1763. The country was a collection of British colonies until it became a self-governing dominion in 1867. Canadians pride themselves in encouraging all of their citizens to honor their own cultures. In 1971, Canada adopted a national policy of multiculturalism, which celebrates the country's diversity. At the same time, Canada faces national challenges related to the concerns of Indigenous people and those in the predominantly French-speaking province of Quebec. While constitutional guarantees allow the province wide-ranging cultural and linguistic autonomy, movements for complete independence come in waves. 9. Egypt. Egypt, with vast swaths of desert in its east and west and the rich Nile River Valley at its heart, is site to one of the world's earliest and greatest civilizations. Its location at the northeast corner of Africa bordering the Mediterranean Sea has made it a cultural and trading center. But its location has also made it a prize to claim by empires and put it at the center of social and religious movements. At the beginning of 2014, voters approved a new constitution, the latest of several versions since modern-day Egypt was formed in the 1920s. The constitution's passage was born from the upheaval that roiled the country and many other Arab nations that sought to end authoritarian rule. Egypt's 2014 constitution upholds it as a republic with Islam as the state religion and Arabic as the nation's official language. The country has executive, legislative and judicial branches of the federal government. Most economic activity takes place along the Nile River Valley, where the tiny amount of the nation's arable land resides. Tourism, agriculture and manufacturing are important industries. Social and political uncertainties have adversely affected Egypt's economy, slowing foreign investment in industries such as tourism, and the fatal crash of an EgyptAir passenger jet in 2016 further rattled the nation's fragile public relations efforts. 8. Thailand. Thailand, which translates to Land of the Free, is the only Southeast Asian nation that did not encounter European colonization. Located just above the equator, the nation is wedged into the Indochina Peninsula with neighbors Myanmar, Laos and Cambodia and has an arm that extends out to Malaysia. Originally known as Siam, the kingdom was unified in the mid-14th century and became a constitutional monarchy in 1932 after a non-violent revolution. Recurring coups have since escalated into large-scale political turmoil spurred by party division and grievances against leaders, and in 2014, the government was thrown into interim military rule. The military has said general elections will be held in 2018. A substantial agriculture sector and competitive manufacturing industry have kept Thailand strong and growing with low poverty and unemployment rates. It is the world's largest exporter of rice and a leader in textiles, tin and electronics. Western education and technology have been absorbed into a devout Buddhist society. Thailand is one of the world's most visited countries, though tourism accounts for just 7% of gross domestic product. Buddha figures are ever present in the land of smiles, where bustling, modern cities are juxtaposed with ancient ruins, glistening beaches, and gilded temples. The nation is home to the acclaimed Thai massage and cuisine that is known to balance sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and spicy flavors. 7. New Zealand. British and Polynesian influences course through picturesque New Zealand, an island nation in the Pacific Ocean southeast of Australia. Early Maori settlers ceded sovereignty to British invaders with the Treaty of Waitangi in 1840, and European settlers flooded in. Today, 70% of Kiwis, a common term for the people of New Zealand after a native flightless bird, are of European descent. A sense of pride has surged among the Maori, the country's first settlers, who now account for about 14%, as homeland grievances become more openly addressed. Though the British monarch remains head of state, New Zealand has operated under an independent parliamentary democracy led by a prime minister since its independence in 1907. In 2017, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern led the Progressive Labour Party to victory and became the youngest female leader in the world. The majority of New Zealand's population is concentrated in the North Island, with nearly one-third living in Auckland alone. But low density and scattered populations make for peaceful exploration of the nation's impressive mountains and pristine beaches of Lord of the Rings trilogy movie fame. 6. Switzerland. Switzerland, officially called the Swiss Confederation, is a small country in Central Europe made up of 16,000 square miles of glacier-carved Alps, lakes and valleys. It's one of the world's wealthiest countries, and has been well known for centuries for its neutrality. The Swiss Confederation was initially founded in 1291 as a defensive alliance among cantons. In 1499, the Confederation became independent from the Holy Roman Empire. In 1848, a new constitution turned the Confederation into a centralized federal government, ending a period of conflict. Since then, the country has enjoyed relative tranquility. Switzerland has low unemployment, a skilled labor force, and one of the highest gross domestic products per capita in the world, according to the CIA World Factbook. The country's strong economy is powered by low corporate tax rates, a highly developed service sector led by financial services, and a high-tech manufacturing industry. Switzerland is a federal republic made up of 26 cantons and an administrative capital in Bern. Most of its citizens live in towns and cities, the most populous of which is Zurich, the most cosmopolitan of the country's cities. The country prides itself on its diversity, and is home to regions with distinct cultural identities. German, French, Italian and Romansh languages all enjoy national status. 5. Greece. Located in southeastern Europe, Greece as an independent nation is young, existing since the 19th century. Its civilization, however, is one of history's oldest and most influential, credited with creating the concept of democracy as well as the ancient Olympic Games, and laying Western foundations in science, the arts and philosophy. Greece occupies the southernmost part of Europe's Balkan Peninsula, as well as a collection of islands that dot the Aegean, Ionian and Mediterranean seas. Its landscapes of mountains, hills and coastline and its rich cultural heritage make it one of the most visited countries in the world. Greece broke away from the Ottoman Empire and declared independence in the early 19th century. A referendum in 1974 abolished the monarchy and created the parliamentary republic that exists today. The country has a free market economy with some government involvement. Fueled by the tourism industry, services comprise the largest economic sector in the country, both for employment and contribution to the Greek gross domestic product. Shipping, industrial production and agriculture are other significant sectors of the economy. 4. France. The influence France has on the world, both in the past and today, is difficult to overstate. Located in Western Europe, France is one of the world's oldest countries, and its reach extends around the globe through science, politics, economics, and perhaps above all, culture. Starting in the Middle Ages, France evolved through kingdom, empire, and finally, into a republic. It was one of the first nations to champion the rights of the individual. France today is a democracy with a separation of power falling between executive, legislative and judicial branches of government. The World Bank classifies France as a wealthy, high-income nation. French citizens look to the federal government to guarantee certain social services, such as education, healthcare and pensions for retirement. The French economy is one of the world's largest and is a mixture of private enterprise and government involvement. Tourism is a major contributor to the economy. France generally tops lists of most visited countries. Other major economic sectors include industry, agriculture, energy, and defense. The country is one of the world's top exporters of weapons. The French people have traditionally been a mix of Celtic, Germanic, and Latin ethnicities. Waves of immigration in the 20th and 21st centuries, however, are altering the country's population. Immigrants typically come from Northern Africa and other parts of Europe. 3. Australia. The Commonwealth of Australia occupies the Australian continent. The country also includes some islands, most notably Tasmania. Indigenous people occupied the land for at least 40,000 years before the first British settlements of the 18th century. Australia has a parliamentary democracy government similar to the United Kingdom. While it separates its federal government into three arms, Parliament, Executive and Judiciary, the executive answers to the Parliament. In 1986 the nation ended all constitutional ties to the United Kingdom, although Queen Elizabeth II remains the ceremonial head of state. Since the late 18th century, Australia has been influenced by British, Celtic and U.S. culture. In recent decades, however, immigration from non-English-speaking nations, primarily from Asia, has altered the nation's demographic profile and influenced its popular culture. Australia is considered a wealthy nation with a market-based economy that has a comparatively high gross domestic product and per capita income. Its economy is driven by the service sector and the export of commodities. 2. Spain. A number of independent kingdoms united in 1492 to form the Kingdom of Spain, a cultural patchwork that continues to shape the modern nation's dynamic identity. Spain comprises much of the Iberian Peninsula, which it shares with Portugal on the southwestern edge of Europe. It also includes the Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean Sea, the Canary Islands in the Atlantic Ocean and two enclaves in North Africa. Maritime strength and colonial wealth established Spain's position as a global leader through the 16th and 17th centuries, a standing that declined as the nation lagged behind great global movements such as the Industrial Revolution. A civil war brought dictator Francisco Franco into power in 1939, and it was only after his death in 1975 that Spain could make strides to level itself with international progress. Ascension into the European Union in 1986 was a jump start to the modernization of Spain's infrastructure, industry, and economic policy. More open trade brought high demand for a diverse set of exports, including textiles, footwear, machinery, olives, and wine. Continued growth built the nation's tourism, housing and construction industries up into bubbles that eventually burst during the global financial crisis, throwing Spain into a severe economic recession in 2009. However, a resilient export market, as well as a European Union-funded restructuring effort in 2014, have helped Spain on its way to recovery. Efforts have been made to implement labor, pension, health, tax and education reforms, but unemployment continues to beset about a quarter of the population. 1. Italy. Italy is a south-central European country, whose boot-shaped borders extend into the Mediterranean Sea. The country's historical cities, world-renowned cuisine and geographic beauty make it a popular destination for more than 40 million tourists each year. The nation is home to Mount Etna, Europe's tallest and most active volcano, and houses two countries within its borders, the Vatican and San Marino. Italy's history started with the Etruscans, an ancient civilization that was eventually supplanted by the Romans in the 3rd century BC. Italy's city-states were the first to embrace the European Renaissance. The country became unified in the 19th century. Italy is a republic with more than 60 million people. Its capital, Rome, is its largest city. About 80% of Italy's population is Christian, with most people identifying as Roman Catholic. But about 20% of people claim to be atheist or agnostic, despite living in the Pope's backyard. In some ways Italy's economy, the fourth largest in the Eurozone, is essentially two economies, a higher growth economy in the developed industrial north and a more sluggish one in the less developed south. Italy's main exports are machinery and transport equipment, chemicals, apparel and wine. From the artwork of Leonardo da Vinci to the fashion houses of Milan, Italy's cultural influence has always been profound. remnants of Greek, Etruscan and Roman civilization, the peninsula. The country's regional cuisines inspire chefs worldwide.